I'm just going to warn you right now. A lot of what I say about Last Armageddon is going to make you go, that sounds so cool. It is not. Last Armageddon was originally an RPG on PCs, and it got ported around just about everywhere. The story of the game is told in a very long opening cutscene, where demons from hell have killed off humanity, but keep finding remnants of civilization that make them suspect that there's still humans out there. Suddenly, aliens invade. They tell the demons they own the Earth now, and so the demons form up adventuring parties to go fight the aliens and see if they can figure out if there's any of those pesky humans still alive. This is an RPG, and as you start the game, you're plopped down at the entrance to hell, and that's everything you get. You'll have to go exploring to figure out what you need to do. You're allowed to return to hell once per day to fully restore your party, but unless something happens, like here, where I was still figuring out the interface and so one of my characters died, you won't need to return. There are no towns to visit or NPCs to talk to. It's just you, the world, and occasionally objects that you can interact with. Hitting the B button brings up this massive menu. It's not organized in any way that makes sense. You have View at the top, which lets you see your inventory, different kinds of abilities, and stats. Below that you have Use, which lets you use items out of your inventory or use one of your spells or special abilities. There aren't any shops in the game to buy equipment with, so instead you have to have a monster that can make equipment. Go here to use that ability to spend the cash you get in combat to make items. The item list, by the way, is completely disorganized. It's not in order of effectiveness or price, it's just whatever they wanted. Then below Use, you have options that are specifically only for items, transferring them between party members, throwing them away, or equipping them. Finally, you have Party Order, and then system functions like Save. It's the most disorganized menu that I've seen in a long time, and it buries a lot of key things that you need pretty deep. While you're exploring, you can expect some random encounters, and the menu here is not much better. From the top, you've got physical attacks with your weapons, then magic, then special skills. All of the monsters possess some extra abilities that they can use, and these are always free. A lot of them will be combat abilities that do damage to the enemy. Continuing down the giant menu, it goes to Item, then Defend, Run Away, Status, because you can't see status effects that have been applied to your characters, and finally Reset, which you have to use if you inputted something wrong. Your initial party consists of the Goblin. They can use and make equipment. The Gargoyle, who can't use equipment but can fly. A Cyclops that's especially smart and can show you the whole world. And the Skeleton, which acts as your wizard. There's only around a dozen spells in the game, and what you have at the start is pretty much all you'll ever have access to. Last Armageddon doesn't use a system where you get experience, earn levels, and get stronger. Instead, it's very much like Final Fantasy II. You use an ability, you get more of it. The different monsters will have different growth rates for each stat, but if you want them to hit harder, then you need to keep having them physically attack. If you want them to have more magic points, then keep casting spells. And worst of all, if you want them to keep increasing their defense and hit points, which you'll need to since some of them can't use equipment, then you have to sit there and defend. When you defend, it's very rare for you to take any damage at all, so what you'll really want to do is get into a combat, take down all but one or two enemies, and then sit there for an hour or so defending over and over and over again. You only increase your power like this when you use your ability in combat, so spells cast outside of combat are no good. When you power up your magic or your defense, you automatically refill your health and magic to maximum. So there's really never any need to actually go back and recover. Even status effects barely work in the game. If you're poisoned in combat, it doesn't do anything in combat. It's afterwards when you're walking around when you take damage. After you boost up your stats a few times, which will be marked off as levels, your monster will evolve into a new form. What form they take is partially dependent on what stats you've been leveling. One of the very few positive things in Last Armageddon is that there are a lot of these upgrades for your monsters. One of the worst things about Last Armageddon is that there's more than one party. You're actually controlling 3 parties. You have one that operates during the nighttime hours, one that operates during the daylight hours, and there's no visual distinction between those times on screen, and then one party that operates on the last day of the month. All 3 of these parties have to be leveled up separately, so you better start grinding. If you can make some progress in the game, eventually you will reach first-person dungeons. They're all exactly this featureless. For some reason that I just cannot understand, Last Armageddon is a pretty well-regarded game in Japan. I hope it's because the other versions are better. There is a big twist ending when you beat the final boss that apparently got a lot of people talking back in the day. But it's the exact twist that you'd expect based on the fact that I told you that there's a twist. The best things in Last Armageddon are the setting, the monsters, and, well, that's it. Everything else is really poorly done in this game. Monsters vs. aliens in the ruins of the Earth is a pretty cool idea, but Last Armageddon just doesn't give you the fun that you'd want from it.